Stuart Stroley here for Sailing World Magazine. Welcome back to our interview series from Key West Race Week. Standing next to me, as many of you know, is Terry Hutchinson, America's Cup skipper, tactician, Rolex Yachtsman of the Year, world champion. The list goes on and on and on. Terry, welcome to Key West Race Week. Welcome to Sailing World's interview series.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and it's Key West is the every time it's on the calendar at the beginning of the year, you know from 6 months out that you're already looking forward to it. It's just a great spot to be, and looking forward to a great week of racing.
Of course, this year for you, 6 months out, you probably were not thinking you were going to be in Key West Race Week. As many of our viewers know, you recently left Artemis Racing, so things have changed. You're back sailing with Jim Richardson, a great friend of yours, godfather of one of your kids, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
Tell us your emotions at this stage, having left the America's Cup and being back here sailing at Key West Race Week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. The getting released from Artemis was difficult, and it's hard because, as much as anything, my family made a huge commitment to the traveling around the world and to participating in the family side of the America's Cup, and so to get this far and not be able to execute in another couple months is incredibly disappointing. But it is what it is, and behind every closed door, a new one opens up, and it's great to have the opportunity really to come back and go racing with Jim and the Barking Mad team. As you point out, he's a close friend and an integral part of my family, and so it's just awesome. And I look forward to what we have going on this year. He's got a pretty aggressive FAR 40 schedule, very aggressive FAR 30 schedule, and he just purchased a Melges 20. So I think we have enough sailing ahead of us that by the end of the year, he's not going to want to talk to me.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You mentioned your family. What was it like trying to explain to your kids? You have some young kids. What was it like trying to explain to them what was going on with your team? I mean, they've come to believe Artemis is their team, their family.
Yeah. It's a difficult one. I think Catherine summed it up best when I came home, and she comes up and she hugs me and says, "Dad, I'm just really sorry you're not going to be able to pursue your dream." And that's a hard one to talk about with them. But I think what we're seeing is there's an element of professionalism in our sport that that we're somewhere between professional football and what we're doing here, where the America's Cup has always been in a little bit of this quagmire of in between of what the sport is and a certain level of professionalism. And I'm proud of everything I did. We're the America's Cup World Series match racing champion. And the last time I checked, the America's Cup is a match race, so I don't know really what else I could have done from a match racing perspective. And they made a decision, and they're gonna stick with it.
All right. When you look at yourself, you're now 44, 45?
Yeah, 44.
44, 45. You've obviously accomplished so much. You've done so much. When you look ahead in the sport, what do you see yourself wanting to do? The America's Cup will reboot again in 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
Seems that likely we'll have a smaller boat. Maybe more like the AC-45, maybe some more teams.
Yeah.
What does it hold for Terry Hutchinson? What do you look down the road and see?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on who wins. I'm not 100% convinced if some of the other challengers won. I'm not sure that it would go back into a catamaran. I don't know what would happen if Artemis wins, but I would suspect if Emirates wins, it has potential to go back into a monohull. It would be great to see them instill a sense of nationality back into the event. I think what we have is we have a great event, but Oracle's worked very hard to cater this to an audience that I'm not sure is there. The TV and the 45s and everything. I mean, there's been so much effort and so much work has gone into a really nice production, and it's a very nice production. But I'm concerned that we've lost our base. I'm concerned that we lose the people that support our sport day in and day out. And so it would be great to whoever wins to bring it back to a sense of nationality and a sense of really what the Cup was, because I think in this day and age, the event can't support, this event, what was it promised to be? It was promised to be cheaper and more teams. Well, I can promise you it's cost a truckload more money, and there's 4 teams, 3 challengers. Right. So in 2007, we had 12 teams in very high profile. It was great racing, and a lot of people would say that was the best America's Cup that they've seen in the modern day era.
Well, I'm among them, having witnessed it firsthand, and of course having watched it. Interesting to hear your perspective on the nationality, of course, because professional sailors benefit from having a more open situation, at least
Yeah.
in terms of job openings.
Yeah.
If there's one team from every country, there's only one employer for each
Yeah.
nationality.
Yeah. Well, if there's 2 or 3 teams from every country, then
there's more challenges. But
Yeah.
do you get a sense that among your colleagues there is a similar desire to have this be more of a World Cup soccer style than say the Premier League?
I have no idea. I haven't really asked anybody. You know, it's I'm probably a little bit more in a minority there if I had to pick it, but
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, I think what we have to do is we have to get out of this situation where there's 3 teams, and the event requires, you know, what it requires to do financially. I mean, the world economy is not going to support that, and you know, we need to check and see where we're at from a marketing and a economic perspective before we set the rules for the next one. And you know, I think Oracle's done some really good things. I mean, the television and the show that they've created has been very, very good, but it's cost a lot of money. The restrictions that they've put in place to limit team sailing, the concept I think is right. You know, it kind of falls a little bit in line with, you know, well, if we have national teams and we control things that way, there's another really good way of doing it. And then we need to have a circuit that is either thinking about going or is already going, like the TP52s, where teams can come in and use that as their feeder series to develop their teams and restrict the amount of equipment that you can build and buy. But you know, this current version in some ways has excluded a lot of the marine industry. You know, and that's a hard thing for, you know, it's a hard thing for our sport to get behind when a lot of the industry has been excluding itself.
One last question about the America's Cup, Terry, and we'll let you go. I had a chance to talk with Russell Coutts recently, and of course, you know, I think from the outside perspective, everyone looks at Team New Zealand, the performance they've had, the time they spent in the boats, as being way ahead of the curve, way ahead of everyone. You know, Luna Rossa will benefit from their close association with Team New Zealand. Obviously, Artemis and Oracle have both had trouble getting their boats on the water, haven't quite used up their days. Russell said, hey, don't discount Artemis. He said, I think we're looking pretty good from the inside perspective, as much as you can tell us. How do you see these teams stacking up right now?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, if you just stick with the factual thing, just pure facts, Emirates used all 30 of their days in 2012. Luna Rossa, who announced a year later, launched and sailed for 8 days before Artemis did. And so these are not, you know, this isn't, you know, this is factual stuff. You know, it's just
not rocket science. It's
not rocket science. It's just, you know, there's an execution. And Oracle did nice work getting their boat out on the water and then suffered a major. Now, I think Russell's point is bang on. This cup is unique enough and that much different that Artemis can turn things around. They have very good sailors, they have very good people, and it could all of a sudden come right very, very quickly. And in the same breath, Emirates is one mistake away from having the whole thing go topsy-turvy on them. And so it's very interesting, that little flick of the switch and how things go. I mean, you have to, but what I think this event is also highlighting is the people behind the scenes, really. You know, the guys that aren't on the sailboat. You know, when you look at team structures and things like that, it's the execution of the team has so much more to do than the 11 guys on the boat. And Emirates has been around for a long time. They're a solid team. They've got a good base. They've got good people. And the execution of getting the boat on the water day in and day out can't be ignored. And so, all that being said, it could go away in an instant with one capsize. And you know, it's a difficult balance. It'll be really cool to watch when they get these things on San Francisco Bay and they start bombing around and they're confined and they're doing all these things. I mean, that's you know, right now, and again, I think Russell's right. Right now, Emirates is probably a little bit ahead, but they're going to have a 6-week window of shipping, and Artemis is there, Oracle's there, and you know, they'll catch up. You know, they will. They'll make up time in those 6 weeks. Whether or not it's enough, I don't know. Maybe they're already ahead and we don't even know it. But I'm convinced so. The regatta's already been won. We just don't know by who yet, because the design teams are going to execute those things.
All right, some interesting insight from Terry Hutchinson. Terry, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck this week,
Thanks.
and we'll check in with you, of course, down the road as this America's Cup gets closer, because few people have the insight you have in going forward.
All right, thanks, Sue. Cheers.